the core of this story is this beautiful family drama. These two young boys who are sort of the product of this sort of toxicity around their power-hungry mobster father, played by Russell Crowe, who just brings such this menacing weight to every scene. And there's just no love there. There's only darkness, and they just don't want to have anything to do with this family business. And so it's kind of the thing that sets Sergei Kravinoff on this journey down the path of becoming a villain. And then there's really no turning back. And it's bloody and it's full of fury. It's really authentic and gritty and grounded in that sort of reality. We shot all of our action on location, and I think that makes a huge difference, you know. And taking an iconic character like Craven, this wild man, out of the habitat that he feels comfortable in the forest, and throwing him in the urban environment, and seeing sort of man against machine. It's like, you know, going head to head with a double-decker bus. Like, there's no stopping this guy. He's relentless. You know, he's fighting with things that are just his bare hands, and bare feet running across the city. So it's great to do that. They dragged me through the River Thames. They made me run through the city of London. We're in ancient forests. We're running in barefoot in the snow in Iceland. I mean, there was no, we did not hold back on this movie. The action and the stunt team that worked on this are just, it was insane. They are fantastic. I went from Bullet Train with 155 pounds to this movie where I'm 200 pounds of muscle, and that was a lot of training. But I had to be agile. There's a lot of stunts, there's a lot of action. A role like this demands for that kind of physicality, and so I was very lucky in the fact that the stunt team invited me in to collaborate with them so that I could be very much involved in a lot of the movements, a lot of the stunts, so that you felt, as an audience, you feel like you really are watching your character go through the motions, right? There's no trickery. It's just, we wanted to give it that feel. I am a huge admirer and, you know, idolized Russell Crowe, and to be in a movie with Russell Crowe was a dream come true. But also because when I watched this movie, I'm like, damn, we got a Russell Crowe movie here. This is him at his best. Dark, menacing, hard R action. He doesn't hold back. He is the pinnacle core of this movie, and so to work with him was fantastic, and he was brilliant. Ariana DeBose is fantastic. She's a joy to work with. She has some twists and turns in this movie, and I think which is exciting to see. Fred Heckinger, who plays my brother, phenomenal actor, and he brings the heart and emotion to this movie. This is a family drama, and it's got twists and turns, and it's emotional, but yeah, you see Craven, he takes his fury out on these guys, and it's one after another of relentless, brutal, defiance, for sure. You ought to come see this movie because it will not disappoint, I promise you that. I mean, it's full of fantastic action and stunt sequences, but at the heart of it is a family drama, and it's emotional, and it's entertaining. It's super exciting. We take you on twists and turns, and I think by the time we get to the end, you'll want to see this villain go on to other pastures.
Nikolai, the character I play, is a very wealthy man, and his kids have grown up with great privilege. He's also a very harsh judge, and he puts his kids under a lot of pressure because he expects them to succeed, demands that they succeed and excel. So I don't think, as they get a little older, they're into their teenage years, it's not necessarily a very comfortable place to be when your father is extremely successful, extremely demanding, and has a penchant for violence, some of which is big game hunting and things like that. So it certainly puts the kids under a lot of pressure, and I think that has a deep and resonant effect with his children as to how they regard their father, how they deal with their father. Yeah, I've only had one day with Fred, but it was a lot of fun. He was playing piano and singing, and then bad boys came along and tried to do some nasty things to us, but we had to deal with that. Working with Aaron's been great, man. We've had quite a bit of time together now. We've got a really good rhythm and a really good understanding, you know. I find the same way with JC. I think we're cooking, you know. We get on set, we examine what we have to do, and we get into it. It's been a really good experience, actually. It's something that I actually like doing, you know. Have gun will travel, you know, and you often find out that, you know, when somebody really wants you to do a thing, then they can concertina your schedule. So you come in, you do a fixed amount of weeks, and then you scoot off again. And, you know, I got a very big and busy life, which I enjoy a lot. So sometimes coming on just doing a short burst can be a lot of fun. Really easy, man. We get on very well. You know, he's, you know, I think it took just a few hours. Sometimes it takes days or weeks with somebody to really click. But with him, it just took a few hours because he sort of learnt the sort of thing that, you know, other directors have learnt over time. It's like, you know, you tell me exactly what you want, and I'll give you exactly what you want. Not just a little bit of this or a smudge here or whatever. And to me, it's particular at a time like this, in a situation like this, where it's a concentrated time, you know, you're coming in, you're doing a thing, then the more, you know, definitively on target I can be for the director, the better. That actually, you know, I know it's kind of strange and perverse, but that's my thing. That's what I do. I'm here to work for somebody else. I'm here to, you know, fulfill that person's vision, you know. I think you can expect a significant amount of spectacle. I think, as we were talking about before, this definitely has quite a dark tone and probably visits areas of relationships and emotions and stuff that some of these other comic book heroes don't, because of that darkness. Yeah, I think people will find a way into this for sure.
The choice was made, or the opportunity, as I saw it, to make the film an R-rated film, and so there were two real things that I, as the lead storyteller on this, wanted to ask myself, and then make sure that we never forgot sight of, which is one, none of the violence, while it is a sort of grindhouse film where there is a lot of stylized violence, it is not in there. Without it having a basis in what the character is going through. And in a way, what we were trying to show very seriously is this journey of how an innocent, 13, 14, 15-year-old kid becomes a vigilante killer later in his life, right? What is that art? There was a justification for it. There was justice, right? It's like, these were bad guys, and I just took them off the planet. And that feels good. And instead of realizing that really only leads to chaos, this character dove into that, and that's really the story. So you really would not have been able to walk anywhere near any of those topics, in a PG-13 film. They just don't let you get close to it. And in a way, it sort of set up a foundation for the violence that we already had in the rest of the film. We've been able to hone this down to a story that I'm really proud of. It is a family saga. It is a family tragedy, but it is also, a great, great barn burner of a story where you realize, there's a lot of things I think people will realize in their own families here, which is the complexity of your relationship with your parents, with your siblings, with your half siblings. What are you jealous of? What do you, are you comfortable in your own skin? What would you do if you were given the opportunity to fix what you perceive to be your greatest weaknesses? But, I think like any good villain story, there's a price to pay when you try and take a shortcut, or you try and step outside of who you really are. And all the characters in this film now, I didn't really know this when we started, but all the characters, when I look at it now, you know, they all are trying to sort of be more than what they actually were given, and in a way, not doing the hard work to progress beyond that. They want shortcuts, and you know, that leads to not great places. So, you know, it's the short answer to your question is, at its core, it was one of the things that drew me to it, which is that we're telling all these other stories, but we're also hopefully just giving you good old-fashioned, you know, Russian gangster story. One of the great joys and pleasures and frankly luck of my career is that I've always been able to work with unbelievable talent. Aaron and I sat down that first time, and he walked in the room. I sort of knew, and I think he wanted it. So that was the first piece, and then from there, you know, what I've learned through all my other films is you build an ensemble one at a time. You don't try and do it sort of all at once. You want to kind of almost work from the middle out. And as we started to put, you know, these pieces together, it was you don't know if they're going to say yes, but you know, it was a pretty special. It did feel a little bit like the way my first film, Margin Call, did, that we just started adding on, and so, you know, Ariana DeBose played the role of Calypso, which was she was coming off, I think, an Oscar win for her film at that time, and she's also a dancer and a singer and a stage performer, and so her physicality, we knew we were going to need to have that be a dynamic part of the film. And then, you know, Fred Heckinger, who plays Craven's brother, which is this amazing, I love that part of that role. It's one of my most, I just love the arc that character gets to go through in this film. And then, you know, to get Russell Crowe, you know, to play the dad, the patriarch of this, which is an amazing role. He came in, and it was like, you know, taking something that really could have been, you know, very arch and almost disappeared and just become sort of a thing. It's one of the most dynamic parts of the film. I mean, Russell's scenes with the boys, both as young boys and as older, are some of my favorite scenes I've ever directed in a movie, because there really is this family story at the heart of this, and in a way, even though it is this big, fun, arch film, you know, Marvel film, at its core, it is that family saga. And I think a great actor like Russell, he helped bring that there. And then I was able to cast two of my dear friends, you know, Alessandro Nivola and Christopher Abbott, in these two villain parts, which was so fun to have them in England, you know, with us shooting, just from a personal standpoint. But they also are, you know, they've been in other films of mine, and they are these amazing, like, dynamic, you know, classic actors who, you know, I think when people get a chance to see what they both did with those two characters, it's a really fun villain's journey that they go on, and they're just you know, I mean, Alessandro's Rhino is is more than I, quite frankly, ever could have hoped for that role. Aaron's an amazing collaborator. You know, he's been at this since I think he was 10 or 11 years old or something. He's been a professional actor since he was like a kid. So he's wise beyond his years. That's for sure. He's a very serious, hardworking, shows up on time, does his homework. I mean, all these basic things that you'd be amazed isn't always the case. So he checks all those boxes off, that he's just an amazingly hardworking, engaged guy. But he also comes from a background of dance, which seems sort of like a strange thing, but that control of his body and his ability to physically transform his body and move, he can move muscles in his face that I didn't even know existed, and he's also just an amazing, nimble, physical actor, where he can, to say nothing for the fact of the way he physically transformed his body into sort of a work of art in a scary way on the movie, just gaining muscle, gaining it down, but never losing that ability to of a great dancer, and that ability to move like a nimble, like an animal in a ways. And I think when people see the film, they'll see that physicality is really quite something.